Hi, what's up everyone? It's Rayvon from Love Lola. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing just a very fast standard video on how to do or some options for doing the lining of your bag or the guts, the insides as we like to call it. I'm going to be showing how to do just a standard slip pocket and also a zippered pocket with a zipper panel on the front. Okay, I do recommend having zipper tape just because it makes, double-sided tape, just because it makes life a little bit easier. Here we go. Follow the instructions in your pattern if it tells you where to place everything. If it doesn't tell you, I like to measure down about between 1 and 1.5 inches from the top for the placement of my overlay. So we're gonna find the center. I've already placed double-sided tape on the back of my overlay. I've measured down 1 inch and I found the center and all of that. And then I took my overlay template once I found the center and placed it on my main panel, my lining, and I drew that rectangle in the middle. Then I went and cut that rectangle out, and what I like to do is I always cut a little bit outside of what I drew, because when we get our overlay on, we don't want that material from underneath peeping out. So I always cut just a little bit wider than what it actually is. Okay, once we've got that done, we're just gonna grab our overlay, take the double-sided tape off, or the protectant little piece, and we're going to place it right over that. All right, once we have that attached, we're going to place that to the side, and we're going to grab our pockets. Okay, so when I make my pockets for my zippered pocket, I like to cut one of the pieces 1/2 inch shorter than the other. So what I'm going to do is grab my piece that's slightly longer and place it right side facing up. Then I'm going to grab my zipper and place it also right side facing up. Center it on your pocket, clip it, and then we're gonna go and sew it at the seam allowance at 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're gonna go sew at this sewing machine. Duh. Okay, once we have that attached, we're gonna go ahead and grab our other pocket. We're gonna place it right side facing up. And then we're going to take this zipper and rotate it so that the zipper is now still facing up right way. So the zipper is still right side facing up, and then we're going to place it on that other pocket. Match up your pockets. Mine are doing its own thing. I did not center my zipper. It's all good. I made it super big anyway. All right, once we've got it pinned, we're gonna go and do the same thing. We're gonna sew this together at about 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so we're here. Basically, what we're gonna do at this point is place this behind our lining. Now, most times, just like that. Most times we're gonna have a problem doing that because our seam allowance is wanting to pucker up, so it's hard to get it to lay flat. It's an easy fix. All we're gonna do is head back to the machine. We're going to push our seam allowance down flat, see that? And we're gonna go and add a stitch right on that seam allowance. And we're gonna be stitching the seam allowance down onto the actual pocket. Okay, so I'm gonna go back and do that really quick, stitching long way on both sides, just so that there will be no more puckering. It'll just lay flat. All right, there we go. Do you see how now it's completely attached to the pocket, so we're not gonna have any issues getting that underneath the zipper overlay. Okay, so now if you like, I'm going to, because it just makes life easier, I'm going to apply some double-sided tape right along those two seams that we just put there. I used to not like to use double-sided tape just because it's so expensive, you know? It runs out so quick. I'm like, I'm not using double-sided tape for no zipper. That's crazy. But then the more you do it, the more you realize sometimes it's better to spend a little bit of money to make sure that you're doing something better than rushing, or even the time. You can get it done without the tape, but it might take a little bit longer because you have to be a little bit more careful. So it just depends on you. Whatever works best for you. I like using the tape now. Just makes my life a little bit easier. Okay, so once you have the tape on, we're going to position our overlay over that centered. So about right there looks good to me. I usually like to actually only take off one piece at a time. It helps me get a better fit. I don't know why I just ripped that off like that. So let's try this again. Okay, so I'm going to center it over it. And I like to start by centering my side first. I like to make sure my zipper is centered on the side piece. And then I will make my way over and center on the other side. And once I'm happy with that, then I'll go and smooth the rest out. Okay. And now I'll take off the bottom. And get that attached. Okay, and now we're going to head over to the machine, and we're going to be top stitching right along the inside of our rectangle at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, or as close as you can get, and then also along the outer edge of our template at about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So we're going to be doing both inside and outside. Okay, now we're going to flip it over and fold our the top part of the pocket down to meet the bottom. Now, if they're not exactly the same length, it's not a big deal. You can either trim it down or just sew it at the so that they're even when you go in and attach it together. I'm going to give it a little trim to get them even. Okay. And now we're going to go to the machine and we're going to close this up. So down one side, across the other, and back up the other side. Unless you're turning your bag through it. Sometimes we do that. So if that's the case, then you would just sew down the sides and leave that middle part open so that you can close the bag out if necessary. All right, and once you have that closed up, that's it. There's your zipper pocket. Super easy, fast. You know, I can dig it. All right, let's do a really fast slip pocket. Follow the size from your pattern, or if you're just making it, you just make it according to the size of your bag. I'm always changing the size of my lining. It just depends how big my bag is. For this particular bag, I am doing about 13 and a half inches by about 8 inches. So you're going to take your lining pocket piece and you're going to fold it so that it's right sides touching. And then you're gonna clip around it and sew it at about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. When you go to sew this, we're gonna be leaving a hole open so that we can turn this out. It doesn't really matter. You can leave an opening on the side, on the bottom. It truly doesn't matter. I'm gonna be doing mine on the bottom. I'm gonna leave about 3 inches open. All right, I've got that sewn, and I'm just trimming my seam allowance down to about 1/8 of an inch, especially making sure that I get my corners trimmed down, because we want to be able to get a nice little point. I am not trimming down the part of my seam allowance that we're gonna be turning out. I'll leave that a little bit longer. Okay, so we're gonna turn it out. Turn it out. Okay. Oh, there goes the sun trying to peep through. Okay, sunshine. Yes. Yes. Don't you love it? So fortunate here in the South. What is it, like December 9th or 10th or 11th, somewhere like that. And we've got this beautiful weather. It's in the 80s. We've got sunshine. I freaking love it. Okay, so go ahead and just tuck where we left that open. Let me shut this window because it's pretty bright. Is that better? Okay, yeah, that's better. Okay, so we're gonna tuck where we just turned it out, and it's going to naturally want to line up. I'm gonna put a few clamps right there just to hold it. Okay, so now we're gonna head over to the machine, and we're gonna take that top edge and do a top stitch at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, just across the top. Alrighty, now once we have that on, I swear every time I start recording, that's like the cue for the landscapers to come and start doing work. Every time. Alrighty, I'm gonna find the center of my lining and the center of my pocket. I'm measuring down 1 inch. I'm lining that up. And I'm gonna use a few pins to hold it in place. If you don't want to pin, or if you can't put a hole in your material that you're using for your pocket, then you can always just use a little bit of double-sided tape and place it, you know, right along that corner, along the bottom, and you know, to have it stay in place while you add this top stitch. Just make it work. All right, and now we're gonna go and top stitch along the side, the bottom, and back up the other side. And while we're doing that, we're gonna catch that opening down there, so it's all gonna get closed up. Okay, and there you have it. Just very traditional, basic options for the inside of your bag. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys next time.